Welcome to Sound the Horne Sports Show. I'm so excited to host this groundbreaking program that will broaden the Jackson sports scene's awareness regionally and nationally. My goal is to highlight sports in Jackson, the state of Mississippi, and nationally by utilizing my 25 years of Division I athletic administration knowledge, and my guests will be experienced leaders in sports. The guests on the show will share a behind-the-scenes, unique, and informative glance of the world of sports. Please join me every Monday and Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Welcome to the Sound the Horne Sports Show. I have my good friend here, A.D. Kenny Bizot from Mississippi College. And Kenny, so glad to have you here. And Kenny and I have had a chance over the past couple of months to get to know each other. And he's doing a great job at Mississippi College, and look forward to seeing some great things.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me today. I'm really excited about this. And like you said, over the last couple months, I really have enjoyed getting to know you more and our visits. So thank you for spending time with me, and thanks for having me here today.
Well, Kenny, what we like to do is try and just get our fans and our viewers to get to know individuals. And what we're trying to do is really get Mississippi more exposed to, other parts of the country and hopefully the world. And if you would, maybe just kind of tell us a little bit about your hometown, high school,
sure,
and maybe some of the sports you participated in high school.
I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. I went to Brother Martin High School. I played basketball, I played baseball, and I ran track. Wish I'd have played football. Maybe one regret, but played those sports. Just very fortunate. I had a great family, mother and father, very supportive, a brother and sister that are big fans of mine, and as I was big fans of theirs. Left New Orleans after I graduated Brother Martin and came to Mississippi College, met my wife, and now I've been married for 26 years and have two boys, a 20-year-old Kenner and a 14-year-old Will.
Okay. How competitive at that time when you were in high school, and now how competitive are the high schools in New Orleans?
It was a pretty strong league. So we played in the Catholic League, Holy Cross, Jesuit, De La Salle, all boys schools too at the time. Now a couple of them went co-ed. But yeah, it was very competitive. The city was really, really competitive. Some really good basketball. I don't have time to actually, to name all the players at that time period that went on to play at the next level, but it was a bunch.
Well, when most of those players, what schools did they go to? Did they stay in the state of Louisiana, or did they kind of go, or was it more of a national recruiting?
A couple went to LSU. Some went smaller school like I did, but it was just overall. I think it was just a different time where you had a lot of athletes that wanted to try to play at the next level. Not to say that that's not going on today, but it was just very competitive. And I remember seeing a lot of the players over the summertime at camps. So back when you used to go to individual camps and things like that. So it's just some really good basketball. Some went and played high level over the years. Some left Mississippi and played back in Louisiana, and I kind of knew them as I moved into Mississippi in the early '90s. So it was just a neat time. But the basketball in New Orleans at that time period was really strong.
I can tell when I talk to somebody from New Orleans because it's in New Orleans.
Yeah, we're a little different. We're a little different.
How was it just kind of growing up in New Orleans? Because so many people want to, that's my wife. That's our favorite one of our favorite getaway spots. And growing up there, how is it a uniqueness of an experience for childhood and growing into adulthood there?
One thing I really loved about how the city was set up, it was, and I know times are different now. You have select baseball, you have more. AAU is a lot more seen out of that city than it was when I was growing up in the '80s. But it was incredible because you had these playground systems throughout the whole city. So Metairie, Kenner, uptown, downtown, which I thought really gave everybody a great foundation. As a young age, 7 years old, you were playing pretty competitive baseball, basketball, and so forth and so on. So that I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful for the opportunity to play at Cleary Playground all the way up to I was 13 years old and have some really good coaching and coaches that cared about us, and not only cared about us but gave us good instruction on how to be better. And then you go into, I went to school in the city of New Orleans, and it was very competitive. And I went to a school with over 1,500 all boys, 8th grade through high school, through senior. and you definitely had to show up every day to be successful because it was very, very competitive. So I'm just thankful for that. I'm thankful for the high school coach I had, Milton Rome. I don't know why he took such an interest in me, but I am forever grateful and thankful that he did, because he was someone that's in my corner to this day, and just helped me understand the things I needed to do to continue playing basketball at the next level.
So many young people now don't talk too much about the impact that their coaches had on them, and I think when you take a look at the advent of AAU, where those kids spend more time with the AAU coach than their high school coach. Not as many kids getting out like they used to. We used to stay outside.
Right.
Now you almost have to force children to go outside and play now. But I just think that I always like to listen to individual stories of how they came up, particularly when they have a coach that made an impact, because that's what I hope. And you and I have that athletic experience background, particularly in that administration, would hope that your coaches would be the ones that the kids say, that's the biggest impact on me.
Right.
And over the years, it's gotten less and less, and I'm hoping that we can get back to that.
I do too. I think coaching has gotten very, very challenging today, and for one of the reasons is what you're mentioning right now. And I'm with you 100%. I really do hope it gets back to truly having the coach-player relationship.
My high school coach in basketball was Arthur Gamble. Earlier we talked about just sports coming up, and he was one of the reasons why we stayed in shape. We ran all the time, but really we never could understand it. But when we got into games and in the other sports that we played in, that foundation gave us an opportunity. You were always in shape, you always were alert, and it made a big difference. And I think that's where hopefully as our coaches can evolve back, even when you take a look at with the NCAA, the 20-hour rule and how much time they can have with them, and then so much restricted time that coaches have with them, but then you turn around and put all the responsibility back on them for the success of the student-athlete, it doesn't match.
Right.
It's kind of challenging.
You're right, and that's where you hope, like we do at Mississippi College, that you have a really good support staff. And when that time where the coaches maybe they're out recruiting, or maybe it reached that 4-hour time period for the day, then now we have our academic advisor, we have our compliance officer. We have people on our staff that can be there for our student athletes to help in any way we can.
Yes, it's really gotten to the point where truly it's the village has to raise the child. Now, before we get out of your high school days, if there was something that you can go back and tell young Kenny out of the years,
how long is your show? How long do we have?
Out of the experiences, what are some things you go back and tell?
Well, I think I've said one. I do wish I'd have played football. The big thing for me, I was just so focused on sports. I was so focused on. I loved basketball, loved it, and I was just so focused on that. I wish I would have spent more time on my academics. I wish I would have spent more time exploring other things to kind of be a little bit more well-rounded. But as far as regrets, I don't. I'm like I said, my mother and father were outstanding people. I got to know my grandparents for a very long time before they passed away. I love the city of New Orleans. I mean, I know some people don't. My wife, she would never move back there, but me, I love it. I love the city. I love the history of the city. I love their resiliency. I love how tough they are, bouncing back from hurricane after hurricane. And so I'm just proud. I'm really proud of where I came from. I'm proud of who my family is. And I'm very grateful also. Yeah.
I think there's certain things that, and I've enjoyed our conversations because there's always teachable moments that we have in those. And I think that as we can always share something from our past that we can share with others, I think it's so beneficial. And I listened to what you said. When I was in high school, I was a pretty good student. I was student body president. I was involved, and I think it helped me a whole lot because when I transitioned from high school to college, I didn't just have to hang around the athletic door. I was involved in student government, did a number of other things that was beneficial for me. And I would encourage student athletes or students that are in high school, broaden your horizons. You're developing your foundation for the rest of your life. And there were so many things that I did then that were the precursor to what I do now that have been beneficial, and I think that we have to be those individuals that share some of our experiences to give the young people an opportunity to say, yes, you can do it.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's something I do regret. I wish I'd have been a little more versed in other things and not as focused on basketball.
Well, I at my high school, I grew up in South Georgia, a little place called Quitman, Georgia, Berks County High School. I had a chance to go back and talk to our football team before a game. So I was sharing with them about, being a student counselor and all that, and I played all the sports. And what was impressive, my old high school teammate is a coach. He said, Derek, how many people that were athletes were in student council when you? And I said, just me. And then he said, all the football players that are student council, raise your hands, about 6 of them.
Wow.
That was really impressive to me because now they're not only being leaders on the football field, but they're being leaders in student government too.
And when you can do that, when you can get involved with the student portion of your school, you're going to create a better fan base. You're going to create better excitement at your game. So that's really neat.
Yeah,
they had that many.
So you spend your time in New Orleans, and what did Coach Jones do to convince you to go to Mississippi College?
Well, he was real. And he recruited me a lot. Coach Lofton spent some time in his recruiting, and then one of our other assistants at the time, Kermit Koenig. I just hit it off with all three of them. And the thing about Coach Jones that he really taught me through the recruiting process, and what he was telling was, come here, you're going to be successful, and I'm going to take care of you. And he's lived up to that every day, and is still doing it today. So it was a situation where it was close to home. It was, and it's even closer now. Back then it was still 55 miles an hour on the interstate, so it took a little longer. But it's 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes, from campus to our doorstep. So that was important to me. My parents had an opportunity to come watch us play, come watch me play some. But it was just you could tell that Mississippi College was going to take off. I was part of Coach's first recruiting class. He sold a vision very well. I wanted to go somewhere where I feel like I could make a difference, go somewhere where I feel like I could play, but also be part of a winning team. Winning was very important to me, and still is. There's nothing to me. It's hard to compare when you just are successful in winning. And I just felt like our program at Mississippi College, the basketball team at that time, was going to be successful. So I was thankful to have that opportunity.
When you talk about recruiting and still sticking to your high school days, I think you hit on something that's real good, that if any young people that are prospects now, they need to understand, you need to listen to what the recruiter is telling you.
That's right.
Listen to them, make sure that they're being real with you, and also to make sure that your parents are very well versed on the conversations as well.
That's a great point. My parents were. They were involved. One thing that really impressed me with Coach was I look up at one of my baseball games, and him and Coach Koenig are sitting in the stands of a baseball game. So I thought that was pretty neat. Now they did come to the house after. My mom did make some crawfish etouffee, so it did benefit from that a little bit. But you're exactly right, and my parents were involved in the process the entire way. And that's so important because I think too many times our athletes are making decisions on their own, based on maybe just what the look of the facility might be. And that's great, but you're playing for individuals. And, make sure that's going to be a good fit for you, not only for the coaching staff too.
And you and I have had a number of conversations, and you brought up something I think that is so challenging. The money that is put into some of these institutions for eye candy, to attract and basically sometimes distract the student. Moreover than finding a good place where you fit, where you can enjoy yourself, and realize that after that 4 years, you need to be ready for the next 40 years of your life. And is this place doing that for you? I had a chance to come on campus and visit with you a couple of months ago. And as long as I've been in the state of Mississippi, that was my first time coming on campus.
Wow.
So I can see how if you can get somebody to campus and your facility is nice, I can see how they can come.
Yeah.
And it's so important to just have our students realize, our prospects, get past the rah-rah, because the rah-rah is only going to be 4 hours long. For the next 6 days, you're going to have to exist on campus. Can you exist on campus? Does this fulfill you? Do they offer you what you are looking for academically? Those are the things that I would encourage our parents to make sure that they instill that in their child if they're going to give that sole opportunity for their child to make their decision. That's what my dad did. Yeah. And I would ask him, he wouldn't tell me where I should go, but he always vetted whoever came in. And it was so funny. After my freshman year, I was getting ready to go. I wanted to go somewhere else, so I called him, and I said, well, man, talk to this. He said, I'm only signing one place. I'm not signing anywhere else. You chose to go to school there. That's where you're going to end up. Yeah. And it was great for me. And I think that's the kind of decision that, and we'll get into the portal and all that. Sure. I think the portal has its place, but sometimes you'll be surprised if you could just stick it out just a little bit longer.
Totally agree.
Just stick it out a little longer.
And that wasn't even I'm saying the same as you. My dad said, that's where you're going. We made this decision. You made a commitment, and you're going to be there. Yeah. And, when you have that, I think it helps out tremendously. Yeah.
Well, we're going to stick a pin in this first quarter, and we're going to get back to Kenny's MC days, and we're going to take a moment to give our sponsors an opportunity to share some information with you.
Hi, I'm Q Talicia Garrett. I am here to introduce our New South Development and Training Outreach Hour every Tuesday at 2 p.m., giving you information on how to become a part of the programs through USDA and Farm Service Agency. We can be reached at 678-779-9468. We can also be found online at newsouthoutreach.com.
SGECOVIDsolutions.com is paving the way forward for a safer city government delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols developed internationally by top virologists and scientists using an all-natural cleaning solution, killing COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. For more information, please call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at SGECOVIDsolutions.com. Let SGECOVIDsolutions.com provide innovative rapid facilities testing and world-class state-of-the-art biorisk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs. Call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at sgecovidsolutions.com.
Welcome back to the second quarter of the Sound the Horn Sports Show. I'm here with Kenny Bizot, and we're so excited to talk a little bit about his time at Mississippi College. So if you would, maybe just share some highlights of your career at Mississippi College.
I had a great time, for sure. I was, again, just so fortunate. I had unbelievable teammates. Like I had mentioned, I was part of Coach Jones and Coach Kenny, Coach Lofton's first recruiting class. So I believe he got the job in 1988. I graduated high school in '89. And he brought in a lot of new players, mm-hmm. a lot of young players, a lot of freshmen. So I met my best friend to this day, my college roommate, Chris Thurman.
Okay.
Was, if I had his shot, and he said if he had my size, and I said, well, if I had your shot, he was a really good basketball player and a great friend today. Mm-hmm. So, you do go to college and hopefully you have a great experience and you do make lifelong friends. About, I guess, halfway through our basketball season, we did a little reunion for my time mm-hmm. there. Mm-hmm. And we had about 20 guys show up, and that was really special.
I was at the game that day.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You looked like you had a great time.
And you knew some of the guys that were there also. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, those are the things. But my time at Mississippi College, I'm not going to say it wasn't challenging. It mm-hmm. was. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was not as talented as my teammates. I had to work extremely hard for the minutes I did get. It was hard to balance that and academics. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness I was prepared so well from being at such a great high school in New Orleans. So I was ready for those things. My dad was one of the greatest leaders I've ever had, and I've always just kind of had his voice in the back of my head as I was trying to get through day to day. But then I learned how to compete also mm-hmm. At that next level. I learned what competition was truly about. I learned what mental toughness was truly about, mm-hmm. and how you just got to kind of stick with it day to day. And if you can do that, then it does turn around, and it does become really positive. Just some of the things I do remember is I almost kind of remember every game we played against Delta State. You know, at that time, both teams were. We had left Division II for a little bit and went Division III in '95. So my last year to actually be graduate assistant. So both teams are pretty strong in Division II in the early '90s.
Yeah.
And anyway, those are some unbelievable games. Both gyms, you play at Delta State, it was packed. You play at Mississippi College, it was packed. Back then, we also had Jacksonville State. We had UT Martin, North Alabama, Troy State. So all those teams that are Division I now. So it was an unbelievable league back then.
I remember those years. In fact, a good friend of mine, she's in the Hall of Fame at Troy. She played in the late '70s, early '80s.
Okay.
But I can remember those battles of how Delta State, Mississippi College, Jacksonville State. If I'm not mistaken, even they call it West Alabama now, but it was all Livingston at that time.
That's correct.
And the thing that is so amazing, basketball is entertaining at any level. I think sometimes we get fixated on we want to watch Duke in North Carolina. Well, you can go watch a high school game and get just as much excitement out of it. And I think that's where when students or prospects have an understanding, go where you can play. And go where you can get that experience. And it's going to be tough. I've had experiences like that as well. But, at the end of the day, I decided that, I gave up my scoring. I said, well, I know how I can stay on the floor. Not many people like to play defense.
Yep.
So I said, I'll be the best defensive player you got, and that gave me minutes. And you sacrifice a little bit, but then when do you get in the end? And then I used to do this little thing. I was the best recruiter. I bring people in, but I say, you don't need to ask the coach when you going in. You need to ask me when I'm tired. I used to play those mind games because you're not going to play until I'm tired. So those are some of the things that I think as you think about yours, and I reminisce on my experiences, I can almost remember every game, and I can remember those things that it took to get over. And in your job and when you're doing things, how does your athletic background kind of transcend into what you're doing now? How can you apply that?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing I can do for our coaches is I do know the feeling of having a big win, but more importantly, I understand the feeling of a big loss, and I understand the grind of the season. I understand what our coaches are doing when they talk about it. It's the journey, it's the process. This is what we're trying to build, and I think that's one of the biggest things I can bring to our staff is I do understand. I've coached for almost 30 years. I do understand the challenges of it. I do understand when you do the best that you can possibly do, and you may come up short a little bit, and hopefully our coaches feel that, and hopefully I've been there for them in a real positive way. As far as our administrative staff, I've just been in that part of athletics for such a long time, and understand what it takes to just work, and to help out, and don't leave people hanging when there's a big job ahead of you. I need to pitch in myself, and we need to make sure that we get this done to put on the best event that we can put on. So those are some things, and then just I think one thing that I've learned over the years is, and I've really tried to do, is relationships. I just think they're so important to me. I've worked extremely hard to have good relationships. I've worked hard to make sure that I can do the best that I can for people to just kind of be part of the vision that we're trying to do at Mississippi College. And I believe I just kind of learned all that through my times in athletics from long time ago, right? From a 10-year-old all the way up, and things that you've seen that you can see from year to year.
What's amazing, you said relationships. We had on Gary Burley recently, and he played with the Pittsburgh Panthers, and then played with the Cincinnati Bengals when Paul Brown was the coach. And he said one of the first conversations that he had with Paul Brown was Paul Brown talked to him about the importance of relationships. And it's key not just in the business sense, but moreover, keeping positive, productive relationships are key. And then a big part of that is also, too, that's working there. relationships can be one-sided. You have to make sure that that you are engaged and involved and have a positive intent in how you're connecting with someone, because people can kind of find out if you have a negative intent through relationships.
That's right. I think that's the only way to truly move forward and get things done is that trust factor that you have between each other. And I've only been at Mississippi College back for a year, and some of the coaches I've known for a very long time. When I was back as an assistant coach, some we went to school together back in the early 90s. So that's just something that I do believe we've been successful at this year is kind of building that relationship with not only the coaches but our entire staff and our entire athletic department. And I think it's been going pretty well. If
you can maybe give our viewers some insight into the Hall of Famer, the Mississippi Sports Hall of Famer, Coach Mike Jones, what would be some things that you can share? And I've known Mike for a long time, but I think just hearing from you some uniquenesses about Coach Jones.
Well, I've been very fortunate because I wanted to go into coaching. So who better to learn from than, like you said, a Hall of Famer like Coach Jones. The things that I've taken from him, and I was his graduate assistant also for a year, I learned what working was all about. To truly, when you want to coach at the collegiate level, a lot of times it's long days. When you're going through the recruiting process, you're the first one in the door, last one to leave. You got to have that attitude, that mindset. Just the film watching and the planning of each game, the planning of each practice from watching film, very detail oriented. But the biggest thing is how to be demanding, because he was. Coach Koenig, how to be demanding, because he was. But then you also love your players. You could also have that relationship off the floor. And sometimes I think that's a real gift. I think it is a talent. It's something that can be worked on, but I do think it's a gift, and he was gifted that for sure. He had a way of pushing us. He had a way of making sure that things were done the way he wanted them done to be successful. But he also had a way of listening, and he had a way of being there for us. A quick story for me, I was very homesick my first semester, extremely homesick. I don't know if people know, but New Orleans, Louisiana is a little different than Clinton, Mississippi, especially in 1989. It's changed a great bit today, but anyhow, I was very, very homesick. I redshirted my first year, so I didn't really have the game competition. Well, Coach knew me. And I think he knew that I was, I had to make a decision. Where am I going to stay? Am I going to stay at Mississippi College, or am I going to go back to New Orleans? And my dad's basically telling me, you're not coming back to New Orleans. But I was homesick, bad. I remember one day, again, I was a red shirt, so I wasn't practicing this day, but because, I think I was so homesick, I just couldn't practice. Well, I'm sitting on the side, and the guys are practicing, my teammates are practicing, and somebody falls. And our manager pops up to go wipe the floor. And Coach Jones turns and said, no, Kenny will get it. So he makes me stand up, and he makes me go and wipe the floor. And that could have went one of two ways, right? So I wiped the floor. I went back off the court, and I sat down, and I thought to myself, this will never happen again. And he truly saved my time at Mississippi College. Because right then I made a decision, I'm going to be here, and I'm not going to be here to wipe the floor. I'm going to be here. Now, I may wipe the floor with my body going across there, but I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be here to stay. And I've always – that's a tough lesson, but he knew I needed it. And I think that's his greatest gift. I really do. He just knew when to be hard. He knew when to hug you. He knew when to have a good conversation, a good talk with you. I've got to see a different side of Coach over the years, again, because I went into coaching, and I leaned on him so much. Every job I've ever had, he had a huge part in it, if not the whole part of me getting my jobs. He's just a great man, great individual, and an unbelievable basketball coach.
Well, the way you were describing him, I said that those are leaders that use a velvet hammer.
Yeah.
You got to wield the hammer, but you got to do it in such a way that you're not demeaning somebody, that you're uplifting them, and then you can, constructive criticism isn't bad. It's just how it's delivered, and that's one thing that I've just grown to admire about Coach Jones, watching him from afar, and then getting in the capacity, working at Alcorn and working with him closely on the Hall of Fame selection committee, and just being around he always just has a approachable disposition.
No doubt.
And that's getting rare and rare in coaches now and administrators that they feel that they have to be standoffish, and I've never been that way.
Yeah, I haven't either.
And I admire him for that. So I was looking at your bio and I saw Mr. Hustle on there. How did you get that name, Mr. Hustle?
Well, kind of, just played hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because sometimes when you have these awards like Mr. Hustle Most Improved, I may tell you the lack of talent that maybe was there. But the greatest leader I ever had, and I'm still fortunate to have him to this day, is my father.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just think he was kind of ahead of his time, and he was very tough also, very tough, disciplined person. But he knew who I was and knew I needed that,
mm-hmm.
and I'm so grateful for him. But kind of like you're saying with your dad, he told me that son, there's not ever a time that you can't play hard. Mm-hmm. There's never a time you can't play defense. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't. He played a little basketball maybe his 8th grade year, but he mm-hmm. wasn't really into athletics. Mm-hmm. But it always amazed me that he knew that. That he knew those things, and I'm 50 years old. Listen to my dad to this day. He tells me not to do something, I'm not going to do it right now at 50. So anyhow, I give him a lot of credit for the way I played basketball, mm-hmm. and it was because I saw him work his jobs. I saw him work extra jobs. I saw him do the things he needed to do to make sure his 3 kids had an unbelievable education, and we can do the things that we try to do well as a family and go on vacations. So I just kind of picked that up from him. Mm-hmm. And then when he told me, you could always play hard. And I remember one game, 10-year-old game, I wasn't feeling well, and I decided not to pitch that day, and I was supposed to pitch. And boy, he got after me pretty good. Yeah. And again, it was, hey, I'm gonna make sure this kid makes it. And since that day, I just played really, really hard. And to answer your question, and I think coaches saw that and they appreciated that. So after year 1 at Mississippi College, they decided to let's have an award, call it Mr. Hustle, mm-hmm. and name it after Kenny, and I got it all 4 years. But I loved competition. That was my way that I could kind of. I wasn't the greatest shooter, mm-hmm. I wasn't the greatest. I could score a little, not the greatest shooter, but I could defend. And I just loved going to get loose balls. I loved going into the stands, and I loved playing and doing whatever I could to make sure that we won basketball games.
Those are the things that when you take a look at championship teams, when you take a look at the Chicago Bulls, that second time around, I don't think they could have been successful without Dennis Rodman.
Totally agree.
Draymond Green with the Warriors. You got to have somebody that's going to commit to. My coach used to call me the blue-collar worker. I was going to do. I did everything else nobody else wanted to do.
That's right.
But I enjoyed it. Plus, I played.
Yep.
And I think that's where we have to realize that it's balanced. Everybody can't be a scorer, but everybody can hustle and can contribute. And I think those are some great things that hopefully some young people are listening that we can go ahead and impart that wisdom to you. But right now we're closing out the second quarter, getting ready to go to the third quarter. So we're going to give our sponsors an opportunity to share some information with you, and we'll be right back.
Have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the We Believe Global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online at webelieve.global.
SGECOVIDsolutions.com is paving the way forward for a safer city government delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols developed internationally by top virologists and scientists using an all-natural cleaning solution, killing COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. For more information, please call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at SGECOVIDsolutions.com. Let SGECOVIDsolutions.com provide innovative rapid facilities testing and world-class state-of-the-art biorisk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs. Call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at SGECOVIDsolutions.com.
Welcome back to the third quarter with A.D. Kenny Bizot, the athletic director at Mississippi College, and we were talking a little bit about Mr. Hustle and the award, and we're going to kind of close out his MC days as a student athlete and then move into the coaching aspect. But if you could just maybe tell us, and I think you might have shared a little bit about it, how that collegiate experience prepared you for life after sports.
Well, it was about the effort and the hard work to really just kind of give it everything you have every day, and then there is a finish line. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes too many students and student athletes, they fall short of that mm-hmm. because they just don't want to keep going. You know, it gets a little tough, and it's the easy thing to do is to not move forward. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the biggest things that it taught me was if you do work hard, you can truly become successful. Mm-hmm. If you do work hard, you can reach your goals. You know, for me, academics would never came easy. Again, I thank Brother Martin for the great foundation. I thank my wife when we were dating at Mississippi College because she just, she encouraged me. She stayed with me. She just gave me the confidence that I can get through. And now, leaving, I left at MC with a master's degree. So I just think my playing sports, whether it was basketball, baseball, whatever, it helped me adapt to not everything's going to always be great. Mm-hmm. You're going to have some failures, but it's really how you handle the failures and how you going to get back up, and are you going to try to make a difference every day. Mm-hmm. And that's all I try to do today. It's not always going to be perfect, but I'm going to work hard for our coaches and our staff, and I'm going to try to do the things that I believe in my heart that we need to do to be a successful athletic department at Mississippi College.
So now that you've gotten your career and finished playing, what was your experience of serving as a graduate assistant and then becoming an assistant coach working for Coach Jones?
Well, it was different, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was just like a whole nother thing.
You made like $100,000 as a coach.
Yeah, that's right. I was lucky too because I was, I did play for Coach for mm-hmm. 4 years, mm-hmm. And a redshirt year, mm-hmm. So I was there for 5 already. He had a couple other guys. One of my teammates, Derek Fears, who's at Mississippi Delta right mm-hmm. now, outstanding basketball coach, really good person. And then we had another guy, Brian Doherty. So that year we had 3 graduate assistants. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of working at El Chico's at the time too. It used to be open. I just was working different things, working some campus jobs. Anyhow, Coach DeWeese from MRA mm-hmm. called Coach Jones and asked him, "Hey, do you have anybody that can come coach my 8th grade basketball team?" And Coach was nice enough to say, "Look, you kind of know what we're doing here. I've taught you a good bit. Mm-hmm. You can still come to the games. We still won't need you, everything, but you need to go do this. I mm-hmm. think this may help." And it did. Mm-hmm. Boy, I loved it. Even 8th grade basketball, mm-hmm. man, it was awesome. Mm-hmm. And I loved that feeling. I loved the feeling of working with the kids. I loved the feeling and the process of seeing them improve, not only as individuals but as a team. So I knew right then this is what I wanted to do. But it was a lot different. The prep work, the decision making, mm-hmm. The time that you have to handle each situation. It's not as easy as just telling a eighth grader that, hey, this is you're not playing. I mean, you kind of got to break it down and explain. Mm-hmm. And I think I learned through the years, you got to be very organized in your coaching because you're going to be challenged by so many things. And as long as you can kind of put together the explanation of why you're doing something, I think you're going to be okay. I think you'll make it in this business for sure. So anyhow, so that was different. I went to Porter's Chapel. That was my first head job in high school in Vicksburg. And I've been in a lot of different places, so I know we don't have time to go through all that. But I would like to say that I feel so blessed and fortunate that I've coached many different schools, and they were all awesome. Like it wasn't, it just, some were really, really small, and really challenging. But the people, the people at all the places I have been, some lifelong relationships that I have to this day. I'm just so grateful for everywhere that I've been.
Those are the things that I think that are priceless. And I was joking earlier about the salary, because a lot of people don't realize sometimes you have to do just as you've done to get the experience, because the experience is more valuable than the a lot of times than what you get paid, because you get paid by the experience that you accumulate. But particularly back in those days, graduate assistants didn't have the niceties that they have now. It's particularly at your Power Fives. It's almost like, it's amazing. You can't tell who's the coach and who's a graduate assistant, because everybody's got on a suit and But I think that experience that you had there, it shows how you have been able to move and grow in the different stages that you had. And one thing that I wanted to ask you about, because I saw in your bio that one year, I think y'all were ranked as high as number 2.
Yeah.
And you were serving as a recruiting coordinator. So how did you pull your recruiting process together? What was your kind of philosophy? And
what a great team that was. And I truly want to emphasize the word team, because they were talented, no question. But one of the reasons we were so successful is their chemistry was unbelievable. And there's no secret, because today they're still really good friends and still really close years later. And I get to see some of those guys now being back on campus, and that's been pretty neat. But it was, I think recruiting too is some of it's luck, and it was just it was an unbelievable time period at that moment where I recruited to junior colleges very hard, and most of the kids most of the players just weren't being recruited. And then they wanted to stay close to home. And in Mississippi junior colleges, usually you have most of your teams going to be pretty close to where they are in their junior college. So it was just a unbelievable time where we got a couple kids from New Orleans. We got a guard from Destrehan, and then wound up getting his teammate his teammate went to play at Delgado for 2 years. So they got reconnected Jazz's junior year. So we got 2 out of New Orleans that were really good players, and then the rest of the team was just guys that can really play from the junior college system that want to stay close to home. And that was to our benefit for sure, 100%. But it was just a great team. I mean, you talk about a great group of men that just wanted to win, that wanted to be part of something special, that wanted to play together, didn't want to do it on their own. I'm not going to go on, and that was very, very rewarding. And I learned as a young coach, so I'm still in my mid-30s right now, and just coming off winning a couple of state championships. I was spoiled as a young coach, and that could be good, but it could also be a little dangerous, So, but it was just a time period where we did a great job with the recruiting, but guys just kind of wanted to stay close to Mississippi, and like you were saying earlier, when we can get recruits on our campus, they like our campus. Yeah, I mean it's friendly, it's great, it's got a real good family atmosphere to it, and that's what those guys were all about.
Excuse me. I think that's the thing that I love hearing those stories, because whenever you take a look at the documentaries, and one that I did see, the year that North Carolina State won the national championship, and they did that on ESPN. And just to see those guys sitting around the table, and the friendship that they had, and the things that they went through, and a lot of them probably still to this day know that that's the best experience they had. And I've been on teams that have been dysfunctional, and it's challenging, and the talent is there, but you just can't put it together, So as you take a look at that, how did that evolve? Your first job was it UT Tyler?
Correct. My first head job on the college level was at UT Tyler.
Excuse me. Yeah.
And kind of like you're saying, like I was saying earlier, we won at Mississippi College when I was the assistant. I mean, we were 29-2. We were 27-4. You know, we won big. So I'm just thinking, I'm gonna go to UT Tyler. We go. And one of my assistants at the time, I was really down after a loss, and he said, "Well, you're not at Mississippi College anymore. You understand that, right?"
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and he was right. So, anyhow, my first year at UT Tyler was very rewarding. They came off of the year before. I think they had won maybe 4 or 5 games. Basically, had the same team come back, and I think it was just a situation where someone new was really good at that time. I've always coached this way. I've always coached based off relationships. I hope I was demanding. I hope I was tough in the right ways, but I did care for my players, and I think that the group coming back really appreciated that. And I think we wound up winning maybe 14 games, made the conference tournament. That was very rewarding, and it was rewarding because I got to see those guys not have success the year before, and how much they really grew together. And how much we all grew together, because I was 35 years old, head coach at UT Tyler, and I had some growing to do also. So anyhow, I really enjoyed my time at UT Tyler. My brother was also there as a tennis coach. So we got reconnected a little bit, so I got to spend time with my nieces and nephews and his wife. So that was really a good thing too. Also got put into some administration at UT Tyler, which very appreciative of Dr. Howard Patterson, our athletic director, for allowing me that opportunity, to be part of the executive committee, to be part of the meetings once a week, so I could learn the business and kind of see the ins and outs of things outside of just coaching. So my time at UT Tyler was very valuable, with coaching some incredible kids through the years.
And I saw that you were coach of the year that one year there, and I think that just listening to you talk about how you approach things, when you approach it, understanding relationships, making sure that you're getting the best out of them and they get the best out of you, you can remain successful. So as you transition from Tyler back to Mississippi to Co-Lin, how was that kind of transition?
That was probably the biggest challenge because of the difference. I didn't attend junior college. I've never really known much about the junior college system, even though I was I've been in Mississippi for a very long time. In New Orleans, we only really had Delgado at the time, so I wasn't real familiar with it. Well, I loved it. I not only did I love my time at Co-Lin, but I started really understanding the importance of what the Mississippi junior college system does for so many. Not only athletes, I'm talking students and small towns offering employment. So I was just really proud to be part of that, and again, just really saw the value of what Mississippi does with their junior college system. It's outstanding. It was a challenge for me because I'm not a one-year guy. I like to have players. Now, today it's changing. So, I was very fortunate when I was coaching at the 4-year level. I was having guys for 3 to 4 years, and that's important to me. That's a big time. It's a great relationship. Well, in the junior college system, you don't have that. You're gonna have them from 1 year and 2 max, and that's it. And you're gonna move on, and they're gonna move on. But I did enjoy my time there. But that was the biggest challenge, was how to, I guess, simplify what I did as a coach, and I mean that because they're not going to be juniors and seniors. They're not. You probably athletic. I went and watched one of my former players play. He went to Texas. What's the
Texas Southern?
Yes. No, I'm sorry, Prairie View. Went to Prairie View, and they came and played at Horne. So I went and watched them, Jordan Lumpkins, and I remember him. And I'm watching him play, and he's like night and day from two years I had him, but it made sense. He kept growing, he kept getting stronger.
Matured and got
so that was the hard part. I did enjoy being part of those student athletes' lives at that time, at their time in their life as a freshman, as a sophomore. trying to get us to understand there's more than just basketball. You know, that you got to take your academics serious. We got to go serve our community. So it was just some real rewarding things at Co-Lin, and I wholeheartedly enjoyed my time there.
Well, I think what a lot of people don't realize, if you're just here in the state of Mississippi, it is a very structured junior college system. I would say Kansas might be the only one that's close to it. But when you take a look at, I grew up in Georgia, and I think it was ABAC at that time. I think they're turning it to a 4-year institution. In the state of Florida, there's no football at their junior college. Right. It's just like basketball and baseball. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. Because of these small towns, my wife went to Northeast Community College. It makes a big difference, and it's challenging for smaller schools sometimes because the kids decide to go. But education is key regardless of how they get it.
Yes. They
just need to make sure they apply to get it. And in this state, it's probably one of the most structured junior college systems I've ever seen. And it benefits the state because it keeps these young people in some other trades and other things that are offered to give them gainful employment. Well, we're getting ready to shut down this third quarter, and we're going to take it to the fourth and final quarter. So we'll have our sponsors share some information with you, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Q Talicia Garrett. I am here to introduce our New South Development and Training Outreach Hour every Tuesday at 2 p.m., giving you information on how to become a part of the programs through USDA and Farm Service Agency. We can be reached at 678-779-9468. We can also be found online at newsouthoutreach.com.
Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the We Believe Global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online at webelieve.global.
Welcome back to the fourth quarter. I'm here with Kenny Bizot, the athletic director at Mississippi College, and Ken and I have had an opportunity to get to know each other over the past couple of months, and one question I have for him is, share with me what your first 90 days were like. Was it like trying to drink water out of a fire hose?
Yeah, they were quick. They were really quick. It was, so I got hired June 1, and I was kind of going back and forth a little bit from March through to June. And June is summertime in athletics. It's a little bit more laid back. So the month of June, I'm thinking, this is not too bad. Then July hits, and then August hit, and you're getting ready for all your fall sports and everything. But no, look, it has been. I'm so happy to be leading the department at Mississippi College. It's a school that means a great deal to me. It's I know who Kenny Bizot is and how I've gotten to where I've gotten, and a big part of it is because of Mississippi College, and I know that. And so to be able to go back and serve in some capacity means a great deal to me. But no, it's been a quick year. I mean, I was telling somebody, first year I feel like going on 10. I mean, it's just a lot going on, a lot of things happening, but a lot of exciting times also. First 90 days was I cannot give enough thanks to Susan Musselwhite, our SWA, our head of compliance, our associate athletic director. Because just her being there each and every day, she's been part of our department for a very long time, was an unbelievable softball player back about the time I was at Mississippi College also. And she was just someone that was so instrumental in helping just kind of put me in the right direction on what's going on, what's happening. Mr. Turman, our administrative assistant is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And you won't be around a better person. And her patience and helping me, just see what, hey, don't forget this is coming due. Don't forget it's coming due. And our whole athletic council, Grady Turman runs our events, is unbelievable. Marcy Hutton does our academic advising, who's just first year also and is just doing a really good job with all our student athletes. And again, you talk about somebody that can sit down and have a relationship with you, and at that, what she does with the academic advising and has the opportunity to sit down and talk with our student athletes, she does a wonderful job. And then our strength coach, who will be leaving us, Michael Shoemaker, has just done a really good job of keeping all our student athletes, I think, on course, because he does see each and every one of them. Our athletic trainer, Matt Verrett, who's also part of our council, and then our new hire at our communications, Blake Ware. So I'm just thankful, because I know without, especially Susan, Grady, and Missa, they've been there for a while. We knew each other for a very long time, so it wasn't like I was going in and not knowing them. I'm just grateful for them. And then, of course, I got that direct line to Mike Jones, Coach Mike Jones. So I just could call him when. But the whole thing, it's like going back home. It really is. Our president, Dr. Thompson's wonderful. Our president's council has been very supportive of me. Our CFO, CEO, Laura Jackson. So it's just, you go to work every day with a bunch of great people. They're not going to let you fail. And I'm so grateful for everyone over there for helping me my first year.
Well, you mentioned, Dr. Thompson, and y'all also talking about relationships. And I met Dr. Thompson when he was a graduate student at Ole Miss. And my wife was working with the American Cancer Society at that time. And we were working with that group in the pharmacy school for advocacy, and just getting to know him. And he's always been a nice person, and really was the catalyst of communicating and getting us together to visit. But one thing that I would say for any athletic director, and that's at any level, you have to have a president that gets it and supportive. And I think that you have that, and that's probably why your first year was not like drinking water out of a water hose, along with still having people there that you knew. And those things are key.
No doubt.
Those things are key. Now, what keeps you up at night as an athletic director?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you kind of probably the same way. Budgets. Yeah. The budget. We have great facilities, but we need facility enhancement also. And then just to make sure that I'm truly doing the best that I can to help mentor. Not that our coaches need mentoring by any means, but just to be someone that's there for them, and hopefully they understand that I definitely want their best interest, not only in what they're doing at Mississippi College in the sport, but them personally also. And it's like you were telling me before the show started, right? It's very easy. Athletics can consume your every minute. And I certainly don't want that for any of our staff or any of our coaches. But we got a really good. I think we have a great situation at Mississippi College. I really do. And I just want to make sure that we can try to move forward the best that we can. So there's a lot of things that keep me up. But one of the biggest right now is how do we generate a really good fan base that our student athletes and coaches they deserve. How do we get more involved with our student body to make sure that we have a good relationship with our faculty, with our other students, with our staff? And the big one would be just generating that funds to make sure that our student athletes are getting the proper equipment, that we're able to travel to where we have to travel for our games, that we're traveling in a first-class manner, that we're eating good food, that we're staying in nice hotels. All that just I want to make sure that we are as successful as we could possibly be, and that I am doing the job that I can to provide our coaches with everything that they need to provide a great student athlete experience for all our players, but also for themselves to have a great experience being part of Mississippi College.
In the administration, and as we say, we might be athletic directors and we're working at the collegiate level, I think too many people get the perception of the Power Five, and everybody has those same opportunities, and it's challenging. And what you have to do is you have to give a first class experience to a student with what you have, and the good ones, the great ones, can do it. The challenging part is when you have the outside, the media. You know, as we were talking about earlier, and we'll get the NILs and the transfer portal. Those things that they talk about regarding the transfer portal and NIL only probably affect 0.5% of all the student athletes that are in sports. And it's tough to try and keep our student athletes encouraged at the smaller institutions because they're not getting attention. They're not getting all those other what they consider niceties, and it kind of hurts their experience. So as you talk with your coaches, and I know I've had to do it with budgets, how hard is it there for them to have an understanding of this is where we are, but we still have to excel?
And that's why I am so proud to be part of our department at MC, because our coaches understand that and they get that. But they also are driven to change that too. You know, they want to do the best that they can also. So we just have some real dedicated coaches that understand the mission of Mississippi College, understand the value of a great coach with the relationship of their student athletes. So I'm so thankful for that. But you're right. I mean, a lot of times it comes down to the facilities. Where am I playing? What am I getting? You know, all the equipment. And we're challenged there for some things. I do think we do provide a great student experience when it comes to getting gear, when it comes to playing in a nice place. But I want to increase that, and I want to make it. I want to try to make it even better. And we have, like you said, we have a president that is on board, that is supportive. We have a CFO, CEO that is on board, that is supportive. We have a foundation that is working. Part of the foundation is working for athletics with Coach Jones and Tim Fritz. That get it and that want us to be reach the heights that we are all trying to work for. So I think we're going to get there. I really do, and it's because our coaches have a really good understanding of where we are right now, who we are. And then let's work together to make sure that we can continue to move forward.
Well, I think the key is just everybody working together and move in that direction, because I think if you do that, you can make sustainable change. And that's the difference between change just for change's sake. When you make sustainable change, then whoever comes behind you, you're setting the foundation for it to be leveled in leveling up. Sometimes when you take a look at some of the things that we do in athletics, they're gimmicks, and they don't last long. You know, I remember we put together, or tried to put together a few places, a marketing advisory committee where you're having people from out. That sounds good, but then when they start trying to tell you things and you trying to tell them how things work, they get disenchanted with it. You know, and so when you can level up and have a good set of coaches that understand that they got some skin in the game as well, and understand that they are the CEOs of their own programs too. When that happens, then you can be the better CEO of the overall operation when you can get your job done. And it sounds like that's what y'all are trending toward.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're in a good place right now because our coaches do know who they are and who we are.
Now, we talked a little bit about name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal. So at the Division II level, how much does that impact you?
The transfer portal is impactful.
Okay.
No question. Now, probably not as many as at the Division I level. The NIL is not as impactful right now as I would say probably at the Division I level at this moment. Not to say that it won't start trickling down, but as far as I'm just speaking of Mississippi College and some of our athletic director meetings, my understanding is there is very few student athletes in our conference and at Mississippi College that are kind of taking part of the NIL.
Okay.
Now, the transfer portal, and I really believe a lot of our coaches are about the relationship. And you know, you start with the relationship during the recruiting process. And then I think our coaches do a wonderful job of trying to combine the fit for Mississippi College, the fit for their program, they're fit for the personalities. Where the transfer portal, I think, affects us. I know some of our coaches are looking at a transfer portal, and especially I think where the transfer portal can be really beneficial is when you already have that relationship, maybe recruiting a high school player and decide to go somewhere else, but you know who they are. So you're not just picking a athlete out of the transfer portal that you really don't know much about. I think a lot of our coaches do a really good job of that. Where I think the transfer portal hurts is like everywhere else in America and all other college sports, is that it puts just a little doubt or puts negativity in the athlete's mind that, well, if this is not going well today, I'm going to just go to that transfer portal. And I think that's kind of where we see things on our level. In the Division II level, if they're not playing, instead of giving it, like you were saying, be patient. Give it an opportunity. Give it a year. It's I'm done. I'm going right to that portal.
I think, I've never been against it because I was one of the individuals as an administrator. I'm saying we can have coaches that can move at any time they want to.
I agree.
They can move for what they felt was better for them. And they weren't penalized. Now, some programs have gotten smarter. They put it in their contract, if you move to a certain school, or you got to pay us back. But for the most part, coaches can move. I don't want the students to get so comfortable with saying, well, I'm going to go somewhere better because the grass is only greener when you water it. If you don't water it, it's not going to turn green.
Good point.
So if you work hard where you are, you might see something a little different. And I heard people just kind of talk about, and this might be the Division I level, and it might just be football in general, but I'm going to use some generalities. If there are 1,500 people to go in the portal, there's usually only maybe 350 to 400 positions that are available.
Correct.
So what these kids don't realize, administrators can take that scholarship away from you when you go into the portal and don't have to give it back. So I think it'll balance itself out. It's the newness, almost like in name, image, and likeness. It'll balance itself out. But the challenging thing is that the perception of it is not following the intent of both of those proposals, and when you have the media get involved and they put their spin on it, and it really dilutes what the essence of both of those were, is to give student athletes a little bit more autonomy in their own livelihoods.
Right, and that's what kind of concerns me about the portal is so many get into that portal and don't have a place to go.
Nowhere to go.
And that kind of breaks my heart. Man, that's tough because what are they going to do? Now the NCAA is putting something together where now you have more of an education piece too before you go to the portal, which I was excited they were going to do that. Yeah. But you're right. It's sometimes you got to look at you, right? You got to look at yourself and see if you need to make some changes as a student athlete, like we all do, like we do as administrators, like we do as coaches.
Well, Ken, it's been great. Enjoyed the conversation,
Thanks for having me.
We wish you the best of luck in your tenure at Mississippi College. And you know me, I'm just a phone call away. If I can help you out, I'll be glad to do that. And again, we just like to thank Kenny Bizot for coming in and being on the Sound the Horn Sports Show. Everyone have a great day. Welcome to Sound the Horn Sports Show. I'm so excited to host this groundbreaking program that will broaden the Jackson sports scene's awareness regionally and nationally. My goal is to highlight sports in Jackson, the state of Mississippi, and nationally by utilizing my 25 years of Division I athletic administration knowledge, and my guests will be experienced leaders in sports. The guests on the show will share a behind-the-scenes, unique, and informative glance of the world of sports. Please join me every Monday and Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com.